All right, Aaron, what's up, man? How you doing?
Mike, man, been too long. What's going on, brother?
Way too long. I think the
I
first
don't
time
even.
we go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't remember the last time I've seen you in person. Actually,
I think it's been at
20
least
like 2019, maybe 20 or maybe 2021. No,
it's
dude, those COVID years, like everything from COVID on is just like it's just one.
I think the last time I saw you was in Simi when I helped you get connected with a club in Simi to help them with some fundraising.
DC
Yeah,
Pat and
VCU.
Tim,
Yeah,
got
Pat.
it.
Yeah, and Tim. Yep, exactly. So that must have
Wow.
been that's pre-COVID, man. So it's probably been 3, 4 years almost.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously we've been in contact, but then I
Yeah.
think there was you linked me up with Channel Islands at one point. Was that you?
hmm I think so.
What's
Could have been.
I'm blanking on homie's name.
It's okay. There's a lot
Yeah,
of people.
whatever. Yeah,
Um, so
cool, man.
before we get into all the what you do and how we've been connected, I actually have some questions that just to give people a little bit of lay of the land of who Aaron is and what he's all about. Tell me
Perfect.
actually about your sports in high school because if I'm not mistaken, you played basketball, and I'm shocked about this one. You played volleyball, and you were actually first team All City in volleyball in 2012.
You're good. You're good. Yeah, man. Basketball was my baby. Always has been. Always will be. Played first 3 years: freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. Started my freshman year on Frosh. Um, would have been no, got bumped up to JV. Yeah, got bumped up to JV on probably the most talented JV team in the city, like 15 dudes deep. Um,
Wow.
rode the bench. Actually, no. In season, I rode the bench, but on a very, very, very competitive team, I was like sixth, seventh man going into the winter. Um, and winter break comes. My family used to go on winter break trips every year. I go on a vacation. I miss like the first two games of a tournament in which like prior to that we rolled up to like we played Price High School in LA. Their starting point guard was 6'3", not a white dude on the court, right? And I'm the sixth, seventh man off the bench, coming in, contributing, adding value to the team, taking charges, running the offense because I'm the IQ guy. I just know the game better than everybody else. That's my biggest asset on the basketball court, or it was when I was in high school
Yeah.
before I got more athletic. Come back from that vacation. The day I came home, I got sick, so I was throwing up for 2 days. So I missed an extra 2 days, and then I come back for like the semis and the finals, and 15th guy sitting on the bench, and I rode the bench. Maybe saw the court here and there on blowouts on a very good team, right? Like I'd probably deserve to be eighth or ninth man off the bench, considering how good the team was.
Mm.
But I was sixth, seventh man, and then I got booted. Uh, Junior year, come in again. Could have made varsity, would have been a 15th man, no questions asked. Again, that same JV team plus the varsity returner. So
Mhm.
really talented team. Kids were, we had Jalen Bland on our roster. Jalen Bland is in the G League now.
Oh
He
wow.
was the number one 3-point shooter at UC Riverside for 4 years in college. Like, kid is a bucket.
Mhm.
So played JV. Me and my best friend, we were the two stars, two captains. I should have averaged. I should have played every minute of every game. Averaged 15 points plus. Coach didn't like me. He rode the bench. Called me out in a practice saying, "Aaron, what do you do well?" And I was like, "Coach, I don't do one thing great. I just do a lot of things really solid. Like I'm a 5'10" dude. I'm not a great shooter. I'm not like a cross you up handles guy, but like I'm a smart player. I'm not going to turn over the ball. I'm not going to hit 8 threes in a game, but I'm just going to do everything well. I'll hit a few threes. I'll get boards. I'll do everything very solid." And he's like, "Get the hell out of my gym."
Oh man.
rode the bench junior year as the best player on JV.
Oh,
Um, Senior year comes along, super talented team. I probably would have been seventh, eighth man, but coach was just running insane practices. Grades weren't as good as they should have been.
mm,
Just trying to, bump those up. And, school was really hard at Cleveland. I was in the core humanities magnet. School was really, really
mm,
challenging. Um, Decided to not play basketball and just, have more time. I was slinging pizzas. I was delivering pizzas. So didn't do that. And then, made the transition to volleyball. Well, I transitioned my junior year to volleyball. So junior year volleyball, played JV, captain. Senior year, got bumped up for playoffs, didn't play in playoffs. Senior year, came back with no volleyball playing in between. Like, every kid
right.
in the league, every kid on my team was playing club, year round, open gyms. Like, I probably played 3 times from spring of my junior year to spring of my senior year. But came back my senior year and just like riding a bike, picked it back up and got more athletic because I was playing volleyball
Mm.
and was captain. Ended up playing full rotation senior year. Made first team All City. Was I think the only kid on my team to make first team All City, and yeah, just not like I'm not going to wow anybody in the gym kind of guy, but I'm just athletic and I'm always going to make the right play, and
It's
that was
it's,
that was
it's
that.
as you say all of that, which is an awesome story, by the way, is I picture one dude that I know you know, JJ Redick. Like you almost kind of look like him a little bit, like a little bit,
I'll
and then
take
your
that.
story, like I'm not this guy, I'm not that guy. I do all these little tiny things, really
Yeah,
well. So I do bring that value, but it's
yeah,
okay that you don't see it. Some coaches don't see it, but that's
yeah.
as you're talking, I'm like JJ Redick. I'm like,
Except he was probably one of the better and most underrated shooters in NBA history,
oh
but
yeah,
that was
oh
not me.
yeah.
But yeah, I was just the work hard guy, man. I was finishing first in all the sprints. I was finishing first in all the conditioning drills, like literally going so hard that I would collapse into the walls. And coach is like, "Let's go," just like I was just the worker. I was
Yeah.
just a little horse. But so that was that. That was my high school playing career, man.
No, that's awesome,
Bit
man. That was
bittersweet, but hey, got that first team in volleyball, so we're good.
that's huge. I mean, that's the first. What's funny is like that's the first thing that anyone will pick up on as a fan of like sports. Like when you see that, you're like, oh, well, that's not very normal and
Yeah,
common to achieve. So yeah, no, that's huge, man. And I love how you went from pretty much your passion of basketball, but you just kept playing a different sport because you didn't have to, right? Because you pretty much fulfilled your PE
yeah. I
requirements, but you're
the
like, no, I'm gonna keep playing.
well, the reason being, and I didn't mention this, is so my dream in life from the time I was in kindergarten was to make the NBA or to dunk a basketball. As a 5'10" white Jew, my junior year when I was maybe touching the bottom of the foam of the backboard, I was like, man, I kind of know I'm not making the NBA now. I'm looking around me, I'm not on varsity. I get it. I was like, well, I got to dunk and I'm not close. So let me, switch over to volleyball. One, to boost my hops, and two, like I was just trying to avoid running on the track in the off season of basketball in
Ah,
Reseda.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
110 degrees in this, it's like it's miserable. So started doing that. And then I think like after or like my senior year, I dunked for the first time at LA Fit. And then my freshman year of college, I was every single time I walked into a gym to play basketball, I was dunking every
yeah.
time.
Wow,
And
wow.
then, and then two pretty serious injuries later, haven't dunked since, but I've been so close. So I haven't dunked since my sophomore year, technically. But in between my injuries, I've been like, I've just clanked them off the back of the rim, just not, just whatever.
Yeah, yeah. No, before we get into some other stuff, did you hear about Tom Segura's whole incident with his dunk?
Who?
Tom Segura, the comedian.
No,
Okay,
I don't
so
even know who that is.
when we're all done with this, because you're a huge basketball nut now that I know, type in Tom Segura dunk, and I'm telling
Oh,
you,
Tom
Aaron,
Segura. Tom
yeah,
Segura.
so
Gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha.
like So you haven't heard about it?
No, I
I'm
need to.
not
All
even
right,
gonna tell you. Like honestly, it's
yeah.
that good.
Well,
I'm not even, just you look at it and then you hit me up afterwards and you tell me what your thoughts are.
it'll be a good reconnection
Oh
way
yeah,
for
no,
us to
it will be.
reconnect.
Um,
Okay.
what was your experience like teaching English as a second language to this is amazing to like refugees in a low socioeconomic elementary school. I'm assuming this is not anywhere near us, so if you can maybe dive into a little bit more about that, because that's a huge
Yeah.
yeah, that's a huge like undertaking. So
Yeah. So that was a very unique experience. One that I wouldn't change for the world. Was in Israel.
mm,
In college, was trying to figure out, jobs, stuff like that, but didn't want to dive into, the workforce right away. I wanted to travel. Supposed to do a one way to Thailand. Things, fell through with a buddy who I was going to travel with, and came across this program in Israel, teaching, English as a second language to kids in low socioeconomic areas. I was like, screw it. I got some family out there. I've been wanting to go, and it's an excuse. Also it's an excuse for me to travel and be, places where I could travel nearby. But man, let me tell you, when people complain or talk poorly or talk about how like school systems here in the United States are bad or they're different, go to Israel. That's not to say they're bad. It's not my I say that because they're not bad, but it is different,
mm,
and they are raised so much differently. And I think that's why, their whole culture is different, but
right.
that's why they're so strong. That's why they're such badasses. That's why they're such tough individuals, both men and women. But man, like I'm telling you, it was common. It was normal in an elementary school. I'm talking kindergartners, first graders, fifth graders, to, in the classroom there's kids, there's disputes, there's arguments, there's things that happen all the time. But I'd say at least 3 or 4 days a week I would see a boy, a girl, a boy hitting a girl, a boy hitting girl, vice
What?
versa, in the classroom slapping each other across the face. And teachers just like, in Hebrew, it's not a Hebrew word, but they just say die, 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 which is like stop, like enough. Like, so die, 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 enough. And they're like, in Hebrew, like go out, go into the hallway.
Hmm.
So you put a,
What?
you put an angry fifth grader, an angry third grader who may have some like, familial problems or issues, or just not like the quintessential family situation at home, into a hallway when he's already heated and he gets kicked out of the classroom. You think he's just going to sit there and chill? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So these kids are like getting sent into the hallway after like getting into a dispute with their classmates or with their teacher or whatever. They're flipping the tables because, so in my school specifically, there's like, you have a hallway with a bunch of classrooms, and then in between the hallways you have like little tables and little chairs with whiteboards on the walls. And that's where we were set up to teach English. So we would take out like the behaved students out of the classroom as like a surprise, get to talk to the American, and we would like teach them English on the little whiteboards outside the classrooms. So we'd have all these kids flying out the classroom, flipping chairs, throwing chairs, and we're like, yo, like, chill out.
What?
so
Jeez, man.
so it was quite an experience, but it actually really showed me, like, aside from that, which sounds terrible, it really showed me like just how independent and powerful and tough these kids and these families are out there. Because again, I would see kindergartners, I would talk to kindergartners in my school that would walk 3-4 miles to school. No parents,
Wow.
no bus. They're just, hey, where do you live? Oh, I'm walking home today. Where's your mom and dad? My mom and dad, I'm walking. I'm like, where do you live? They're like 8 kilometers away. And I'm like, dude, you're 7 years old. You're 6 years old, It's like, God forbid we were a kindergartner walking across the street to a Rite Aid here in LA or in America, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was a pretty unique experience, man, but wouldn't change it for the world.
That reminds me, I actually went to China when I was 16 and 17, Shanghai and Hong Kong, two different occasions actually. And I'll tell you what, Aaron, when I came back from my first trip, I was opening doors for the elder. I was saying
Yeah,
sir, I was saying ma'am. So it's amazing how cultures, if as long as you're open to it and you
yeah,
can you know have some value in it. Like I remember just coming
yeah.
back being
Take find
like,
the silver lining.
yeah, like I appreciate it. I was like, man, I was like, this is not how I would act in the US, but being here in China, like this is how, like, it wasn't even no one even said anything. You just
Yeah,
did it. Like it's just you,
you
the
just
vibe was
yeah,
there. Yeah, it's
you
crazy.
just see it. You just see it. Why'd you go out there?
My dad had some business out there, and
Got it.
he actually dropped me. He had me. So speaking about walking, he had me walk to a park to do Tai Chi at like 7 in the morning for like 2 weeks straight. I'm this
Dude.
American, like almost 6 foot, like almost 5'11", and and I'm doing Tai Chi and all this stuff. People are stopping in the park, like, what is going on? And then,
They're probably filming you.
oh yeah, no, I was like Shaq. I was like Shaq for them, man. Like, I'm clearly not Shaq, but like, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah,
yeah, it's just when you get dropped in other cultures, like, I think if
yeah,
especially when you're young, like you're so much
yeah.
more open to like soaking it in.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
so yeah, I wouldn't change that for the world. But no, that
Yeah,
sounds crazy.
you gotta experience other cultures. It gives you so much more perspective on what we have, the things that we take for granted on a day to day basis, and just
Mm,
I mean, like just being open and receptive to other people. Like they're in it's talking about my experience in Israel specifically. Like there's these perceptions that like Israelis are this, or the Arab people that live in Israel are that, or the Palestinians are this. Like they're all great people, and
mm,
it just there's there's conflict and there's political issues, but doesn't mean that every single person out there is bad. Like,
right.
dude, I some of the best people I knew, better than Israelis, were Palestinians, and I'm like, it just it when you just sit here listening to mainstream media and social media. It's like all you get fed is the crap and the wrong stuff. It's like go experience it for yourself. Like
Hmm.
I talked to my Palestinian boy, who gets like the bad rap just because of his color and just because of his name. His name is Ahmed Ahmad.
Yeah,
That's his name,
that's a yeah. Yeah,
you
see,
know?
even I'm already
And
going like, yeah, if I heard that, yeah, yeah.
nicest dude in history. This guy would drop everything to like I've never had someone do the things he's done for me. And I'm like, yeah, that's traveling. That's experiencing. So
Yeah, yeah.
gotta do it when you're young.
I'm all about that. And so for those who like don't know Aaron, like I obviously met you a long time ago, about 9 years ago, through a high school because I heard you did a fundraiser for a different program, and I heard all this positive feedback. So you work for SnapRaise, and I do know now. I saw that like there's like Snap and then like mobile. So I'm sure there's more to the story. But for those who just don't know, kind of what SnapRaise is all about, could you give us like a little brief like synopsis about what SnapRaise is?
Yeah. So you did hit it on the head, right? We were Snap Raised, we are now Snap Mobile. Could dive into that later, time permits. But Snap Raise is a very simple thing, man. We've taken the hassle, the burden, and the time out of a traditional fundraiser like a chocolate sale or a popcorn sale or a cookie dough sale,
Mm-hmm.
and removed all the products. So there's no product sales involved. SnapRaise is an online platform. We help kids, youth organizations, clubs, even adult organizations raise money without selling any products at all by way of utilizing the power of a smartphone. So we build out a custom site that highlights that specific program or organization with picture, video, media content. literature as far as who the program is, why they're raising money, and how funds are being used. And all we're asking is the coach to do what he does best, coach the kids, coach the members of the organization, make sure they participate. No successful organization could exist without that participation. And then we ask that those members or the kids of that organization to participate by going home, sitting down with mom and dad, and getting 20 or more emails. And ultimately, a custom email goes out to those aunts and uncles saying, "Hey, I'm a part of this program, soccer team, this school soccer team. This is why we're raising money. Thank you so much. We love you. Click on the link." So super quick, easy, and we have teams raising way more than ever before, than selling chocolates and cookie dough and popcorn.
Well, that actually ties into like some of the stats that I think actually like, man. So forgive me, but I have some of your accomplishments here, and I want to I want to kind of give you some roses here, man. So you have successfully raised over $11 million for organizations in the greater LA area. That's significant.
We're pretty close to 13 million now.
Oh my, 13 million. Okay.
I haven't, in between the millions, I haven't had time to post it, but yeah.
You've also raised over 1 million for groups in a 90-day window on 5 separate occasions.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So,
And you were in the top 6 for sales between 2019 and 2022. So I'm assuming that in 2023 you're going to probably be again, maybe, in the top 6 as a competitive basketball volleyball player that you are.
Athlete. Yeah, I always tell people don't put a competition in front of me, because if you are interested in losing, then you will put it in front of me.
So I'm gonna throw this at you then. So what are the misconceptions then that someone would? So if I said, "Hey, I know someone who does this, and this is what they do," what are the misconceptions that you come across? And it's normal. People who don't know things are they're not gonna like things. They're not gonna maybe be open to like maybe trying it. But like, what could you maybe clarify just a little bit in terms of like maybe certain misconceptions about what Snap Raise does?
About what we do, Snap Raise?
Yeah.
Man, biggest misconceptions are the fact, I actually say this is the number one misconception, is that there's other platforms, and there's other products, and there's other services that do just like they do exactly that Snap Raise does, right? So ultimately, if I'm talking to a Nike rep, this is my comparison. If I'm talking to a Nike rep and I'm like, well, why would I go and get, the Kobe's that dropped today when I could go to Adidas or Under Armour and pay $50 less for a cheaper product that does the same thing? So that's the number one misconception, right? There's thousands, there's tens of thousands, there's probably hundreds of thousands online donation platforms out there. And most of them on their end, they'll say, we do what Snap Raise does, but cheaper. And then the misconception when I talk to coaches or programs is, why would I work with you when I could do it for cheaper? If it's cheaper, it's not the same. That's the misconception.
No, I wanted to ask that question because I've forwarded your contact to others. Sometimes I get the response like, "Oh, well, like they ask all me the questions," and I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm just trying to connect you with the guy that I actually had a really good experience with. Like, if I didn't have a good experience with the guy, I wouldn't be forwarding him on to you in the first place."
Yeah.
So, and so to dive deeper with that, so let's go into the weeds with that. Like, because look, you just said 13 million. Like, that's a significant amount of money raised for any organization, for kids, adults, I don't care for what it is. Like, that could be used for so many different things. And I have a follow-up question with that later. But like, so aside from the product comparison, what's like some other like no-namer that you have to kind of say, oh no, we don't do this, or no, we don't do that?
I mean, I'd say like the easiest, most obvious one, like, hey Aaron, why would I work with you, and why would you take a higher percentage when I could just go to GoFundMe and do the same thing but do it
Mm.
myself, right? Yeah, you could do a GoFundMe, but you don't have a rep. You don't have someone like myself or other people like me who do what I do around the country. You don't have the privacy and security, meaning, you know, when you coached at, Thousand Oaks, or when you coached at these different clubs over your years, right now, today, I could go on GoFundMe's website, create a fundraiser saying I'm raising money for, Juventus, youth soccer academy or whatever program I decide, and start a GoFundMe and get that funds deposited into my personal bank account.
Oh, I didn't know that. See,
Anybody
like,
could do it.
wow. So you could literally open a fund for me.
Yeah, I could open up a Mike Braco, cancer fund. No one is stopping me on GoFundMe's end from running that fundraiser. GoFundMe's a great platform. I don't intend to knock or talk poorly about them, but I'm talking about a misconception. Like,
Hmm.
we do what we do because of privacy and amongst many other things. But when a coach asks me why can't I do a GoFundMe, you could do it, but you're also going to run the risk of you know getting yourself in trouble. For anybody, when I tell them like, hey, you want to do a GoFundMe for your soccer team, you could do that, but you're going to put yourself at risk, because if you Google GoFundMe money laundering, you're going to see thousands. I'm talking thousands yearly. High school coaches, youth organizations, priests, any type of organization that gets in trouble for money laundering because there's not a safe way to know if that money is going to the right place. I could run a campaign. I could run a campaign for, a presidential candidacy. And I'm just Aaron Karp living in LA, not a political guy, and pocket that money and put it into my bank account. So when people ask, why they can't do other things, like, we gotta be protected. We got to be private and secured. And, that's the number one thing that we focus on.
Yeah, no, I mean that's also why I actually, it's bringing back memories as to why I remember when we partnered up, and I've also have introduced you to other organizations because yeah, I just felt like it was very professional. That's the kind of the vibe I always got. I'm glad, man. That's so crazy. You mentioned the GoFundMe and all that. I mean, I didn't realize. Yeah, I mean, that's
And
as coaches, we don't want to handle money. Like at least me personally, my
yeah,
job is to coach. My job is not to do finance. Like that's team coordinators or managers, people who thankfully we have those people because
for
we
sure.
we don't want to touch that money. So yeah, I can only imagine me opening up a GoFundMe page and people going like, "Oh, well, where's that money going? Is Mike keeping some of that money?" Like, and obviously,
Yeah.
like as an individual, whether or not you're doing that. So, but yeah, that's so. I feel like snap raise can shield a lot of actually misconceptions about how you fundraise properly. So
Yeah. And safely, effectively, you know, um, the whole nine yards. So that's one of many, but I'd say that's probably the biggest one. Just why we do what we do at a at a higher percent, or why do other companies do it at a cheaper percent?
mm,
There's so many things I could dive into, but protection, privacy. We can't just provide a platform and not provide security. There's costs and of course associated to that.
what um what have been some of the standout stories of organizations that have benefited from snap raise that you have actually facilitated? I know you've done, like I said, you obviously have done 13 million, so I don't want to put you on the spot to pick one, but like what's been a situation where what they were fundraising for and then you saw kind of like the outcome?
Man, there's so many. It's
Yeah.
it's so hard to pinpoint. Like, I mean, we've not me personally, but us as a company, we've done fundraising to provide food and clothes and shelter to families up in Paradise, California, for those fires that happened a couple of years ago, where you know we donated everything to them. We had other schools in the area run fundraisers for their football teams, donate every penny of that money to Paradise. I think that's the name of the city. I'm pretty sure, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's been
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's been a few years, but I personally ran some campaigns over at Malibu during the Woolsey fires and stuff in 2019. Money was used to support the program and get them through the season. I mean, I think I met with the team like a week or so after the fire had ended, and I was working with ghosts. They were kids, but they were ghosts, man. They kids who would finish practice and would go home to ashes. So just stuff like that, which is really just kind of special for me. Like I get emotional even thinking about it, but also like you know programs that have raised $5,000 over a 5-year span, and in a quick 28-day easy process with me and SnapRaise and our company, they've raised $15,000, and so they've tripled what they did in 28 days compared to what they've done in 5 years prior.
Hmm.
Spending a lot more time. So I think some of my biggest impacts and some of my biggest what I take most pride in is like getting kids off the streets, man. Like I was the kid outside Ralph's selling chocolate. I was the kid selling gummy bears. Like, unfortunately, my family didn't have it that way when I was growing up. Like, I was the baby in my family, so I didn't get the same benefits that my brother and sister got. So I
Hmm.
had to pay my way. I was paying my own spirit packs. I was, working a job in high school to pay for all my things and food. So, I was in the shoes of kids in today's age. And if we just gave them chocolate or gave them products and had them go sell it, now they're at risk. Talk about COVID. They're at risk of COVID. How are they going to fund their programs going door to door with a mask on? Like, people, that wouldn't work. Um, and then we go back to that money conversation, right? Like, we take football coaches or not even football coaches. We just take coaches who are doing what they do because they love kids and they want to coach and mentor and provide like learning opportunities and life lessons for kids. And now you're putting cash and checks and money in their hand and putting them at risk of losing their job of doing what they love.
Hmm.
So some of my biggest accomplishments is probably just helping coaches, helping kids not have to do the things that I once did and you once did, that a lot of us once did, you know?
Hmm. I've for someone who now has been with SnapRaise, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like 6 years.
Yep. 6 years last month.
Okay. What's been something that, as the time has gone on, aside from the, I'm sure, improvements that they've done within their own company, but as someone who's worked for the company, what's something that you think about sometimes to go like, ooh, like what's the next step? I mean, so maybe I'm going into that with the mobile because I just became aware of this as I started to do research.
Yeah.
Um, like, is the mobile what you maybe have been thinking about or what the company has been thinking about of like the next level? Because obviously what the platform is obviously already amazing. And it's
Yeah.
like, how can it maybe benefit more or become better? So I'm not sure if maybe I kind of led you into mobile, but maybe I didn't. So I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are like on the next steps of SnapRaise.
Yeah. I mean, personally, if you were to ask me that 5 years ago, it was like, you know, 5 years ago when I was a year in, I hadn't even raised $1 million in a 1 year span. Probably took me 18 months or something to raise
Mm.
$1 million for groups in LA in my community. So, 5 years ago is like, man, I want to get to 5 million, so that's probably like where my thought process were years ago.
Hmm.
Um, Ask me that today, I want to just continue to help and serve as many kids and, you know, youth organizations as possible. So, the money raised is great, but I would love to measure it as far as like what impact did I make on kids? How many kids did I serve? How many kids did I benefit? So I think that's something that I would like to measure going forward, and something that the company is starting to measure as well. The money raised is of course amazing. Providing money for kids is great, but like how many kids, how many lives are we impacting indirectly? People don't look at it that way. Like
Mm.
we're impacting kids' lives without them really even knowing, because they don't really know what it used to be like, right?
Hmm.
Um, but company on company side, I think it echoes the same. Like, how can we impact more kids' lives? But now shifting to that mobile, it's how can we impact more um, school admin or admins lives. So the
Mm.
raise, now we talk about that distinction. Snap Raise was built by coaches. The CEO of our company used to be a coach. For coaches, it was built for coaches because he was working with his father-in-law or one of his family members or his whatever state champion football coach. Bad game of telephone, probably slightly butchering the story, but
It's okay.
helping his a mentor of his
Hmm.
his football coach raise money. um, that's why Snap Raise was built, to help coaches. But now, as we've gone in, and we're 9 years in as a company, you know, we've solved the raise side. There's still more programs we could raise money for. We could still impact more kids' lives, more coaches' lives, but we've always just focused on coaches. So now the mobile side of it is how can we impact and help principals, assistant principals, athletic directors, district officials,
Hmm.
district admin, state conferences, state districts, like all of that. Like how can we make their jobs easier? Because at the end of the day, their big pain point, and that's what that's what we've started to identify and provide solutions for. But their big pain points are, you know, I'm sure you experienced this as a coach and running soccer clubs too. Like how many logins did you have for to run your organization? How many different logins to different websites and platforms did you have to manage your full program?
Hmm.
I
Yeah, I mean,
imagine it was
yeah,
10 or
it's
15 at least,
yeah,
right?
a lot of
You have
passwords
you have
saved.
your streaming. Yeah, you have your streaming. You have your roster management. You have your texting communication. You have your fundraising. You have all of these different things
Hmm.
that all go to helping your organization operate the best it possibly can. So that's kind of the approach that we've taken, right? So providing, a money management spending solution for admin, providing an insights dashboards where they could see, the finances that they've raised in a transparent online dashboard. Um, Providing a customized branded app. I mean, that's the newest thing, right?
Hmm.
A fully branded mobile app. Like imagine you're at a high school and you have a physical app that lives in the app store that is fully branded and customized to your school's colors and logos and photos and media and all of that. That has, rosters. It has, hyperlinks to Max Preps and Twitter and your GoFan, your ticketing, your NFHS live streaming, your videos, your highlight, everything. So now you're putting a college feel on a high school campus for these athletes and for
Hmm.
these admin and for these kids, while being able to most effectively and efficiently communicate to those people within the community. Not just a high school, you know, it's a community thing. It's a community engagement tool.
Hmm.
Like for instance, I went to Arizona, University of Arizona. Arizona is a great college, but more than anything, that college is great because of the community. Like you
Hmm.
got 95 ladies showing up to every single basketball game. Like University of Arizona would not be what it is without the community. And the same could be said for a lot of schools. Like, Simi Valley is a really good example. Simi Valley High School and Royal High School and Grays Brethren, all these schools, they are what they are because the community buys into them.
Hmm.
And that's what the community's got. So being able to provide a fully branded app for the community to download, And now for the ads and the district admin or principals or whoever necessary, being able to send communication out to the community via a push notification on our iPhones.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're able to just streamline everything that we do. And rather than being like, oh, go to this website for that, go to that website for this, go to this website for this, it's, hey, there's a fully branded high school mobile app. Download it. You'll find all of the information you're looking for.
Wow.
Because as an AD, as a principal, you got a lot going on. You don't want to deal with all these things on top of parent questions, like trying to streamline and help them what they do. So that's kind of what the mobile solution has turned to. It's a full circle of we'll give you everything all in one stop. You'll have one sign on. You'll have one sign on to manage your entire athletic and activities on campus, wherever that may be. So it's
Wow.
pretty exciting.
And what's the
Yeah.
what's the easiest way for someone just to get started? Is it just to go on to snapraise.com and just kind of reach out to
Yeah. I
someone?
mean, yes. Snapraise.com. I think our new website is on snap.com, but it's all connected. But you'll see, like, we started, I think one of the first things is we started as Raise and now we're this. And we have all of these different solutions, all these different products in which we could help coaches, principals, admin, districts, you name it. But or you could find your local SnapRaise rep and they'll get you connected to the right people.
Mm, okay.
So those are the easiest ways.
Wow. Man, it's kind of crazy when we first connected and used the platform and to kind of see where it's going now. I mean, obviously, it's kind of awesome to see how it's grown and how essentially it's trying to impact more and more and more people, which is the purpose. So I'm excited for you and your team and the whole company. So yeah, we'll have to do a part two where I have my proper setup with my cameras and my microphones and all that good stuff. Right now it's still the beginning stages, so but no, we'll have to do a proper sit down and go over some more stuff. But before we wrap up, I know you have a busy day ahead of you. Um, I do a segment called Flip the Script. So as someone who was an athlete, if you have a question in terms of a coaching question or just in general, it could be even with SnapRaise. I mean, whatever it could be, because I just gave you pretty much like a dozen questions to help
Yeah.
people, with. So is there one question that on the top of your head that you're like, oh, I can actually ask Mike this question?
Yeah, I got two.
Oof.
Why first, like, as a coach, someone I know you're an athlete, former athlete yourself, but
Mm.
ever since I've known you and to my knowledge, like, you've been coaching, a lot longer than most. Like, as a coach, like, why do you do what you do? Like, why do you coach and why do you not do other things? And why have you chosen to be a coach? And what's your purpose for coaching? I think, that gets lost. And, it's important for people to hear that.
I didn't have what someone needs to get to the highest level for, let's talk about soccer.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. Like,
Yeah.
I genuinely did not have that. If I would have had some pretty good coaching environments, I would say maybe Division 2, maybe if I really like push myself. I
Yeah.
for sure was not a Division 1 athlete in terms of like the athletic point of view, right? So
Sure.
so like I look back and go, man, if I would have had X, Y, and Z, and it's no knock to those who did help me when I was younger, but
Of course.
it's what you described. Like, you were selling chocolate, you were selling gummy bears, and you're trying to do all these things. And so now you have a platform to go help people with fundraise. For me, it's like I have been around certain mentors that guided me a certain way. And after coaching 15 years in the youth system,
Yeah.
like now especially, I could really help someone who has a dream of whatever that dream is. So my for me, it's, am I creating an environment for that player to achieve their dreams? And if I'm not
Yeah.
doing that, then I'm not doing my job. So, um, yeah, it's actually very correlated to why you do and how you get emotional with what you do. Because
Yeah.
yeah, I'm telling you, like if I would have had, yeah, just a whole different environment around me, I definitely probably would have been able to maybe open different doors and have different experiences.
Yeah.
But because I didn't have those open doors or experiences, it's actually motivated me more to actually do what I do now, which is, like train 4 days a week with my teams. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're like, we are a
And
non-ECNL club team and we train 4 days a week because I know that's
yeah.
what it takes to get to where they want to go.
Yeah.
So,
And I love that because I mean, like you said, there's alignment between, what you just said and what I've kind of been talking about. And I think that's
mhm,
why we get along and we're not just like we don't just have this like business relationship or,
mhm,
partnership, but we're friends. And with what I do and what we do as a company, we talk about it all the time. Like, what's your why? Like we always go back to that. Like, let's take aside everything that's going on in our lives and what's your why? Like,
mhm,
I think our whys are their alliance. My why is to not have kids experience what I had to experience once upon a time as a kid. And there's
mhm.
better ways for them to do it. So that's my why. And your why is, similar. So I love that. Last question I got for you, something
Okay.
that
All
also,
right.
so yeah, I told you I had two. I told you I had two. Um, I guess it's, on more on the snap race side, but like
Mhm.
as a coach, coaching 15 years, like what was your biggest pain point when it comes to coaching, and like how did snap raise help, or what is it that's what about snap raise, really made it easy for you, or even like going one step further, what about snap raise in your experience could have been easier, could have been better?
When you have access to more capital, you can provide more tools and also provide potential memories. So actually tomorrow, my girls 2010 team is leaving from LA. We rented vans. We're driving down to San Luis Obispo. We're going to watch the Cap Holly practice on Friday morning. Then we're going to do a tour of the campus. Then we're going to a dinner at a restaurant of a friend of mine in SLO. We're staying at a hotel. Then we're playing in a tournament this same weekend. So, for example, my team and my players and my organization, we're blessed to be, an area where the funds are
Yeah.
not too much of a concern. And so
Yeah.
that's great. But imagine I couldn't do that exact trip without fundraising. So, for
Yeah.
example, I have 13 to 14-year-old players who their dream is to play Division One. Well, what does that look like? What does a practice session look like? What does the campus look like? Do you really want to do that? Do you really want to
Hmm.
be 4 hours away? How does that feel? So,
Yeah.
to provide the experience that we're able to provide, because I think only like six parents are going at some point in time. Like
Yeah.
3 or 4 are
Yeah.
going initially as chaperones.
Yeah.
So if I were to connect with you and do a snap raise and raise, let's just say $10,000, well, the van's taken care of, the hotels are taken care of, food's taken care of, and what did you just create? You created the ability for someone to see and realize what it's like to play at that level and to be able
Hmm.
to maybe prepare themselves to make a better decision of maybe I don't want to do that, or hey, you know what, yeah, I really want to do that, so I gotta make sure I'm prepared for that when that moment comes. I'm even more ready now. So again, it goes back to like the traveling, right? Like if we go and travel certain areas and see certain things, then we have a better idea of what it's like. So snap raise, even for me back in the day, was always to provide more. Obviously the funds necessary is obviously going to be, the most beneficial. So for example, in the future, if I'm in an organization or an environment where funds are not as easily accessible that they are now, thankfully, and like, can we now raise that money to then again pay it forward to the kids to be able to expose them to different ideas and concepts. And again, you can also go back to like soccer balls. Like you get every kid a soccer ball. You know, they show up to practice with a soccer ball. So snap raise, I think, is a very valuable tool for people to use. I do feel like there are misconceptions that hopefully a little bit that you shined on will, you know, allow them to see past those misconceptions. But that's their choice, to also do their own homework and research and talk to people who have had experiences with members like yourself with snap raise. But yeah, for me, it's always about making things more accessible to the players that will benefit them for the long run. So it's not about making it easy for them. Like, you know, it's about, can you provide something that will allow them to make better decisions going forward? So yeah, it's kind of funny that we had this conversation now, and like I'm doing this trip with one of my teams this whole weekend. I couldn't
Yeah.
do it. I couldn't do it if I couldn't do it if we didn't have the funds available that we have. So that's a prime example, you know. So
And also, just circling back to tie a knot on that, because you mentioned misconception,
mhm.
and I'd say going into that, like the same time as the misconception of doing what we do but cheaper, different, whatever. Misconception is the information out there. Like, at the start of this call, we talked about social media and we talked about traveling and culture and experiences. But like, the misconception is that another misconception is that people go online and they read things that are not true. We've grown as a company. I've grown as an individual. I've changed what I do. Um, there's different things that happen now that happened 9 years ago, and some of those things may be on the internet. So a misconception is reading things online and assuming snap raises this or snap raises that. But challenge everybody, or challenge people that you talk to, I guess, that say that, and like, hey, well, I don't want to do this because I read this. Like, just talk to us, because I'm transparent. I'm an open book. I do what I do to help. I don't do what I do to make jobs harder for people. So, hear us out, hear what we have to provide and offer, and then you make your decision.
No,
So
100%. And like I said, we will definitely be doing a part two, because I feel like we can dive into so much more, because I know you have to get going, and I don't want to take up more of your time. And so, like I said, I just want to say thank you for spending this hour with us and talking about just first some of your experiences with athletics, and then which are some pretty good stories, some travel experiences, Snap Raise, and now Snap Mobile. So, like I said, I want to say that I appreciate your time, and definitely we'll be doing a part two, because I feel like we can just probably go for even longer. So yeah, I just want to say thank you, man, so
yeah,
much.
I say any opportunity I have to chat with you is, it's a good time.
No, I appreciate that, man. Like I said, we'll do definitely a part two in the future. I'm gonna go ahead and conclude this one for now, but yeah, this is gonna be definitely continued.